Good evening, friends. Pinotuni. Welcome to our online broadcast here from the London Mindfulness Meditation Center. As you know, we go live at 7 o'clock, sharing with you our puja, chanting, Dhamma reflection and meditation during this hour to support your religious practice and commitment, especially during this rains retreat here at the London Mindfulness Meditation Center. During rains retreat, it is customary that the monks or the clergy or the venerable sirs and the devotees get closer to the Dhamma, especially recalling or reminding themselves of the spiritual practice or spiritual development, moral development during this time, and trying to internalize the Dhamma so that it serves a purpose as well as supports your own spiritual practice. So therefore we have committed ourselves to continue to support that, and therefore we have our Dhamma reflection after our daily puja and chanting, which then finishes off with our metta bhavana. Having said that, we also have other religious practices or Dhamma services. Every Sunday at 9 a.m. British Standard Time, we will hold weekly meditation session, which is led by my honorable teacher, Most Venerable Dr. Polumare Sortanayakatera from Sri Lanka, live via Zoom. And if you are interested, please do contact us so that we can share with you our Zoom IDs so that you can participate regularly to that session. Every 4 days we hold Dhamma sermons and other religious programs for your own spiritual observances. Third Sunday of the month, our regular Dhamma sermon is conducted by Most Venerable Alawe Anomadasi Nayakatera from Sri Lanka, again live. So we go live every day, sharing with you our religious observance during this rains retreat. And today, the puja, the chanting and the Dhamma reflection is sponsored by Mrs. Indika Jayasekara and Mr. Chanaka Jayasekara, along with their children Yasindu and Kavish. And the intention is to bless everyone with good health and happiness, and especially the parents would like to dedicate and bless their children for a brighter future. May all the education measurements they are taking be successful for their own bright future, and may the merit accumulated be conducive for their well-being, especially good health and happiness during this time of difficulty. And would also like to bless you during this time of difficulty with good health and happiness as an online community. So we wish the sponsors of today's puja with every happiness, good health, as well as you with good health and happiness. So before we begin our puja, please say Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa 3 times to observe 5 precepts. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi saṅghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, පානාතිපාතා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි. අදින්නාදානා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි. කාමේසු මිච්ඡාචාරා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි. මුසාවාදා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි. සුරාමේරය මජ්ජපමා දට්ඨානා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි. තිසරණේන සද්ධින් පංචශීලං ධම්මං සාධුකං සුරක්ඛිතං කତ୍වා අප්පමාදේන සම්පාදේ තබ්බං. Let us worship the Buddha together. Namo tassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Itipiso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho Vijjācarana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhammasarathi sattha deva manassanang buddho bhagavati. Buddhaṃ jīvita pariyantaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Ye ca buddhā atītā ca ye ca buddhā anāgatā paccupannā ca ye buddhā ahaṃ vandāmi sabbadā. Natti me saraṇaṃ aññaṃ buddho me saraṇaṃ varaṃ. Etena sacca vajjena hotu me jaya mangalaṃ. Uttamangena vandehaṃ pādapaṃ suvaruttamam. Buddheyo khalito doso buddho khamatu taṃ mamam. Svakhato bhagavata dhammo sanditthiko kaliko ehi passiko opanayiko paccattaṃ veditabbo viññuhiti. Dhammaṃ jīvita pariyantaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Ye ca dhammā atītā ca ye ca dhammā anāgatā paccupannā ca ye dhammā ahaṃ vandāmi sabbadā. Natti me saraṇaṃ aññaṃ dhammo me saraṇaṃ varaṃ. Etena sacca vajjena hotu me jaya mangalaṃ. Uttamangena vandehaṃ dhammaṃ ca tividhaṃ varaṃ. Dhammeyo khalito doso Dhammo khametu tang mamang Supatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho Ujupatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho Nyayapatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho Samicipatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho Yadidang cattari purisa yugani Atte purisa puggala Esa bhagavato savaka sangho Ahuneyo pahuneyo Dakhineyo anjali karaniyo Anuttarang punyakhetang lokassati Sanghang jivita pariyantang saranang gacchami Ye ca sangha atita ca Ye ca sangha anagata Paccapanna ca ye sangha ahang vandami sabbada Natti me saranang anyang sangho me saranang varang Etene sacca vajjene hotu me jaya mangalang Uttamangena vandehang sanghang ca tividottamang Sangheyo kalito doso sangho khametu tang mamang Ghanasarappadittene dīpene tamadangsina Tilokadīpang sambuddhang pujayami tamonudang Vannagandha gunopetang etang kusuma santating Pujayami munindassa siripada saroruhe Pujemi buddhang kusumena nena punyena metena ca hotu mokkang Puppang milayati yathai dhamme Kayo tatayati vinasa bhavang Adhivasetu no bhante paniyang parikappitang Anukampang padaya patiganhatu uttama Adhivasetu no bhante Gilane paccayang imang anukampang padaya patiganhatu uttama Adhivasetu no bhante besajjang parikappitang anukampang padaya patiganhatu uttama Vandami cetiyang sabbang sabbatani supatititang Saririka dhatu mahabodhing buddha rupang sakalang sada Yassa mule nisinnove sabbari vijayang aka Pato sabbanyutang satta vande tang bodhipadapang Ime ete mahabodhi lokanathena pujita Ahampi te namassami bodhiraja namattute Kayena vaca cittena pamadene maya katang
Accayan kamame bhante bhuri panye tathagata Kayena vacha chittene pamadene maya katang Accayan kamame dhamme sanditthika akalika Kayena vacha chittene pamadene maya katang Accayan kamame sangha supatipanne anuttara Ettavata amhehi sambhatang punya sampadang Sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya Ettavata amhehi sambhatang punya sampadang Sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya Ettavata amhehi sambhatang punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo Imina punya kammene mami bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya idamme punyang asavakkaya vahang hotu sabba dukkha pamuncatu.
Today we will chant the Avana Sutta, Ratana Sutta and Mahamoggallanattera Bojjhanga Sutta, wishing you all with good health and happiness. May you be blessed with good health throughout this time of difficulty. May you and your loved ones stay safe and protected and be blessed with good health throughout. If you are dedicating anyone or if you are bearing anyone in your thoughts, we wish them speedy recovery. May all the treatment they are being given or taking be conducive and successful for their speedy and complete recovery. May they soon be able to enjoy good health. Many of you have contacted us with certain illnesses of your loved ones, so we bear everyone in our thoughts today, wishing you all good health and happiness. If you'd like to, you can share our Facebook or YouTube link lmmc.online so that they can listen to the chanting live here from the London Mindfulness Meditation Center if they wish to do or if they are able to do so. And as always, we dedicate the chanting to all our key workers, including NHS staff, doctors and nurses, and all volunteers. May they all be blessed with good health. May they also develop courage and determination to continue their valuable services to the nation. So with such righteous intention, we begin our chanting. If you are joining us, please do so. If not, please listen to the chanting with great attention and respect. Samanta Cakkavalesu Atra Gaccantu Devata Saddhammang Munirajassa Sunantu Sagga Mokkadang Paritta savana kalu ayang badanta Paritta savana kalu ayang badanta Paritta dhamma savana kalu ayang badanta Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa
නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස. ये සන්තා සන්ත චිත්තා තිසරණ සරණා එත්ත ලෝකන්තරේ වා බුම්මා බුම්මා ච දේවා ගුණ ගණ ගහනා ව්‍යාවතා සබ්බ කාලං ඒතේ ආයන්තු දේවා වරකනකමයේ මේරු රාජේව සන්තෝ 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 සහේතුං මුනිවර වචනං සෝතු මග්ගං සමග්ගං සම්බේසු චක්කවාලේසු යක්ඛා දේවා ච බ්‍රහ්මනෝ යං අම්හෙහි කතං පුඤ්ඤං සබ්බ සම්පත්ති සාධකං සබ්බේතං අනුමෝදිත්වා සමග්ගා සාසනේ රතා පමාදරහිතා හොන්තු ආරක්ඛාසු විශේෂතෝ සාසනස්ස ච ලෝකස්ස බුද්ධි භවතු සබ්බදා සාසනම් පිච ලෝකං ච දේවාරක්ඛන්තු සබ්බදා සද්දෙන් හොන්තු සුඛී සබ්බේ පරිවාරේහි අත්තනෝ අනීගා සුමනා හොන්තු සහ සබ්බේහි ඥාතිභි රාජතෝ වා චෝරතෝ වා මනුස්සතෝ වා අමනුස්සතෝ වා අග්ගිතෝ වා උදකතෝ වා පිසාචතෝ වා කහානුකතෝ වා කණ්ඨකතෝ වා නක්ඛත්තතෝ වා ජනපද රෝගතෝ වා අසද්ධම්මතෝ වා අසන්දිට්ඨිතෝ වා අසප්පුරිසතෝ වා චණ්ඩ හත්හේ අස්ස මිග ගෝන කුක්කුර අයිවිච්චික මණිසප්ප දීපී අච්චතරච්ච සූකර මයිස යක්ක රක්ඛසාදී නානා භයතෝ වා නානා රෝගතෝ වා නානා උපද්දවතෝ වා ආරක්ඛං ගන්හන්තු යානීද භූතානි සමාගතානි බුම්මානි වායානි වයන්තලික්ඛේ සබ්බේව භූතා සමනා භවන්තු අතෝපි සක්කච්ච සුනන්තු භාසිතං තස්මාහි භූතානි සාමේත සබ්බේ මෙත්තං කරෝත මානුසියාපජාය දිවාච රත්තෝ ච හරන්ති ඒ බලින් තස්මාහි නේරක්ඛත අප්පමත්තා යං කිංචි විත්තං ඉදවා හුරං වා සග්ගේසු වායං රතනං පනීතං නනෝ සමං අත්ථි තථාගතේන ඉදම්පි බුද්ධේ රතනං පනීතං ඒතේන සච්චේන සුවත්ති හෝතු khayang viragang ametang panitang yadajjaga sakya muni samahito natena dhammena samatti kinci idampi dhamme ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu yang buddha setta parivannai sucing samadhimanantarikanyamahu samadhinatena samona vijjati idampi dhamme ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu ye puggala atta satang pasatta chattari etani yugani honti te dakkineya sugatassa savaka ete sudinnani mahappalani idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu ye suppayutta manasa dalhena nikkamino gotama sasanamhi te pattipatta amatang vigaihe laddha mudha nibbuting bunjamana idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu yatinda kilo pathaving sitosiya chatubhivate biya sampakampiyo tatuhupamang sappurisang vadami yo arya saccani avecca passati idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu ye arya saccani vibhavayanti gambhira panyena sudesitani kincapi te hanti busappamatta nate bhavang attamang adiyanti idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu sahavassa dassana sampadaya tayassu dhamma jahita bhavanti sakkaya ditti vicikiccitanca silabbetang vapi yadatti kinci catuh payehi ca vippamutto cacabithanani abhabbo katung idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu kincapi sokammang karoti papakang kayena vaca udacetasava abhabbo sotassa paticcahadaye abhabbata ditta padassa vutta idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu vanappagumbe yata pussitagge gimmana mase pathamasmin gimhe tatupamang dhamma varang adesai nibbanagaming paramang hitaya idampi buddhe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu varo varanya varado varaharu anuttaro dhamma varang adesai idampi buddhe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu kinang puranang navang natti sambhavang viratta citta ayatike bhavasming te kina bija avirulhichanda nibbanti dhira yathayang padipo idampi sanghe ratanang panitang etena saccena suvatti hotu yani dabhutani samagatani bhummani vayani vayantalikhe tathāgatang deva manussa pujitang buddhang namassāma suvatti hotu yani dabhutani samagatani bhummani vayani vayantalikhe tathāgatang deva manussa pujitang dhammang namassāma suvatti hotu yani dabhutani samagatani bhummani vayani vayantalikhe tathāgatang deva manussa pujitang sanghang namassāma suvatti hotu etena sacca vajjena dukkha vupasamintu te etena sacca vajjena bhaya vupasamintu te etena sacca vajjena roga vupasamintu te evaṃ me sutang ekang samayang bhagava rājagahe viharati veluvani kalandaka nivape tena kopana samayena ayasma mahamoggallāno gijjakūte pabbate viharati ආබාධිකෝ දුක්ඛිතෝ බාලහගිලානෝ අථකෝ භගවා සායන්න සමයං පතිසල්ලානා වුට්ඨිතෝ යේනායස්මා මහා මොග්ගල්ලානෝ තේනුපසංකමි උපසංකමිත්වා පඤ්ඤත්තේ ආසනේ නිසීදී නිසජ්ජකෝ භගවා ආයස්මන්තං මහා මොග්ගල්ලානං ඒතදවෝච කච්චිතේ මොග්ගල්ලාන කමනීයං කච්චියාපනීයං කච්චි දුක්ඛා වේදනා පටික්කමන්තිනෝ අභික්කමන්ති පටික්කමෝසානං පඤ්ඤායතිනෝ අභික්කමෝති නමේ බන්තේ කමනීයං නයාපනීයං බල්හාමේ දුක්ඛා වේදනා අභික්කමන්තිනෝ පටික්කමන්ති අභික්කමෝසානං පඤ්ඤායතිනෝ පටික්කමෝති සත්තිමේ මොග්ගල්ලාන බොජ්ජංගා මයා සම්මදක්ඛාතා භාවිතා බහුලීකතා අභිඤ්ඤාය සම්බෝධාය නිබ්බානාය සංවත්තන්ති කතමේ සත්ත සති සම්බොජ්ජංගෝ කෝ මොග්ගල්ලාන මයා සම්මදක්ඛාතෝ භාවිතෝ බහුලීකතෝ අභිඤ්ඤාය සම්බෝධාය නිබ්බානාය සංවත්තති ධම්මවිචය සම්බොජ්ජංගෝ කෝ මොග්ගල්ලාන මයා සම්මදක්ඛාතෝ භාවිතෝ බහුලීකතෝ අභිඤ්ඤාය සම්බෝධාය නිබ්බානාය සංවත්තති විරිය සම්බොජ්ජංගෝ කෝ මොග්ගල්ලාන මයා සම්මදක්ඛාතෝ භාවිතෝ බහුලීකතෝ අභිඤ්ඤාය සම්බෝධාය නිබ්බානාය සංවත්තති පීති සම්බොජ්ජංගෝ කෝ මොග්ගල්ලාන මයා සම්මදක්ඛාතෝ භාවිතෝ බහුලීකතෝ අභිඤ්ඤාය සම්බෝධාය නිබ්බානාය සංවත්තති පස්සද්ධි සම්බොජ්ජංගෝ කෝ මොග්ගල්ලාන මයා සම්මදක්ඛාතෝ භාවිතෝ බහුලීකතෝ අභිඤ්ඤාය සම්බෝධාය නිබ්බානාය සංවත්තති සමාධි සම්බොජ්ජංගෝ කෝ මොග්ගල්ලාන මයා සම්මදක්ඛාතෝ භාවිතෝ බහුලීකතෝ අභිඤ්ඤාය සම්බෝධාය නිබ්බානාය සංවත්තති උපේක්ඛා සම්බොජ්ජංගෝ කෝ මොග්ගල්ලාන මයා සම්මදක්ඛාතෝ භාවිතෝ බහුලීකතෝ අභිඤ්ඤාය සම්බෝධාය නිබ්බානාය සංවත්තති ඉමේ කෝ මොග්ගල්ලාන සත්බොජ්ජංගා මයා සම්මදක්ඛාතා භාවිතා බහුලීකතා අභිඤ්ඤාය සම්බෝධාය නිබ්බානාය සංවත්තන්ති තග්ග භගව බොජ්ජංගා තග්ග සුගත බොජ්ජංගාති ඉදමවෝච භගවා අත්තමනෝ ආයස්මා මහා මොග්ගල්ලානෝ භගවතෝ වාසිතං අභිනන්දී උට්ඨාහි චායස්මා මහා මොග්ගල්ලානෝ තම්හා ආබාධා තථාපහීනෝ චායස්මතෝ මහා මොග්ගල්ලානස්සසෝ ආබාධෝ අහෝසීති ඒතේන සච්ච වජ්ජේන රෝගා උපසමෙන්තු තේ ඒතේන සච්ච වජ්ජේන රෝගා උපසමෙන්තු තේ ඒතේන සච්ච වජ්ජේන රෝගා උපසමෙන්තු තේ සබ්බ බුද්ධානුභාවේන සබ්බ ධම්මානුභාවේන සබ්බ සංඝානුභාවේන බුද්ධ රතනං ධම්ම රතනං සංඝ රතනං තින්නං රතනානං ආනුභාවේන චතුරාසීති සහස්ස ධම්මක්ඛන්ධානුභාවේන පිටකත්තයානුභාවේන ජින ශාවකානුභාවේන සබ්බේතේ රෝගා සබ්බේතේ භයා සබ්බේතේ අන්තරායා සබ්බේතේ උපද්දවා සබ්බේතේ දුන්නිමිත්තා සබ්බේතේ අවමංගලා විනස්සන්තු ආයු වඩ්ඩකෝ ධන වඩ්ඩකෝ සිරි වඩ්ඩකෝ යස වඩ්ඩකෝ බල වඩ්ඩකෝ වන්න වඩ්ඩකෝ සුඛ වඩ්ඩකෝ හෝතු සබ්බදා දුක්ඛ රෝග භය වේරා සෝකා සබ්බේ පද්දවා අනේකා අන්තරායාපි විනස්සන්තු ච තේජසා ජය සිද්ධේ ධනං ලාභං සොත්ති භාග්‍යං සුඛං බලං සිරියායු ච වන්නෝ ච භෝගං බුද්ධි ච යසවා සතවස්සා ච ආයු ච ජීව සිද්ධි භවන්තු තේ දේවෝ වස්සතු කාලේන සස්ස සම්පත්ති හේතු ච පීතෝ භවතු ලෝකෝ ච රාජා භවතු ධම්මිකෝ ආකාසට්ඨා ච බුම්මට්ඨා දේවානාගා මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරං රක්ඛන්තු ලෝක සාසනං ආකාසට්ඨා ච බුම්මට්ඨා දේවානාගා මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරං රක්ඛන්තු ධම්මදේශනං ආකාසට්ඨා ච බුම්මට්ඨා දේවානාගා මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිත්වා චිරං රක්ඛන්තු මං පරන්ති. May the blessings of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha embodied in the chantings, may the compassion of the Buddha embodied in the chantings be conducive for you and your loved ones' well-being and happiness, especially during this time of difficulty and uncertainty. May you stay blessed throughout. And if you had anyone in your thoughts, if you buried anyone in your thoughts, we wish them every health, good health and happiness. May all the treatment they are being given or taking be successful for their speedy and complete recovery. May they soon be able to enjoy good health. And as always, we dedicate the chanting to our key workers, including NHS staff, doctors and nurses, and volunteers. May they all be blessed with good health. May they also develop courage and determination to continue their valuable services. And we also bless the sponsors today, Mr. Chanak and Mrs. Indika Jayasekar, and children Yasindu and Kavish. May they also be blessed with good health and happiness. May all their righteous aspirations be fulfilled. May the future of their children be successful and filled with every happiness. So we say sadhu 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So as you know, we have been reflecting this Rains retreat from the verses of Dhammapada, and we began with the chapter on punishment, or Dandavagga, chapter 10. For those who might be new, the Dhammapada is a small book. It can be as small as this, with all the translations, and this is from the Buddhist Society, big books like this, but it contains advice of the Buddha given on many occasions, and they are collected and put into 26 chapters, so 423 verses into 26 chapters. And last rains retreat we began from the first stanza, and this rains retreat we have begun from chapter 10. So if you like to listen to previous reflection, you can just go back to our Facebook or YouTube recordings and it will be there. So exactly a year ago. So today I'd like to reflect on stanza of verse 141. And if time permits, we'll go to the second pair. So the Gatha goes as such: Na nagga chariya na jata na panka nana saka thandila saika va rajova jallang ukkuti kappadhanang so denti machang avitinna kankang. So this is talking about the internal person or you, whether you call it the nature of the mind or whether you call it the status of your thinking, but it says a lot about how we should compose ourselves. So the translation goes as such: not wandering naked, nor matted locks, nor filth, nor fasting, nor lying on the ground, nor dust, nor ashes, nor striving to squat on the heels can purify a mortal who has not overcome doubts. This is quite interesting. So no matter what you do, unless you purify yourself, the stuff that you do, the things that you wear, the practices that you commit yourself to won't make sense unless you develop some confidence, or even unless you ward off all your doubts. So this was actually given uttered to a monk. So this is more or less to do with recluses, to do with people who have given up household possessions. So if you look at the words wandering person, matted with matted locks, jata, filth, okay, fasting. So it's all to do with the types of ascetic practices that were committed or done by people long time during the Buddha's time. There may be some even today who might do this. So at one time, people thought the only way to reduce greed or attachment is to even throw away your clothing. So they are wandering ascetics who were naked. The more you actually perhaps even have hair unwashed, the more matted they look like. They thought it was considered to be holy. And their hair was very matted, in a sense, all tangled. I'm sure unless you shave it off, you can't even comb it. It's so much matted. They were ascetics, or they were actually people who have tried to find or understand the truth by not even cleaning themselves, smearing the body with mud, not cleaning or not even brushing their teeth, not taking a shower for years and years and years, or sometimes even decades. They were ones who actually fasted quite very differently. But fasting alone will not lead to purification, is what the Buddha says. You have to do it with understanding. People, they were, if you look at the third fetter or second fetter, Vichikita, Silabhata Paramasa, the second fetter of the 10, there were people who practiced, or even the Buddha was, the ascetic Gautama was also encouraged to do certain things like that. Some practices that were quite unrealistic. So his rigorous ascetic practice on fasting or giving up food was quite an extreme. The Buddha even realized by having followed that. And there were recluses or ascetics, or those who have left household, who used to walk on 4 legs or 4 limbs, if you put it, so 2 hands and 2 legs. So they're both they were acting, or they were practicing vatas or practices, acting or behaving like dogs, or they even go around before they sit down. They don't eat with their hands, they just eat with their mouth on the plate, as if a dog was eating their food from a plate. So there are lots of this. So there were some who actually rubbed the body with ashes, some ascetics rubbing their body with some ashes. And these things, or sometimes even continuously sitting in postures or wandering in postures. Some stand on one leg throughout. So these are some things that people did, thinking that is these external penances or external things actually can purify a person. So I'm going to read briefly the story behind this. So once there was a rich man in Savatthi, and after the death of his wife, he decided to become a bhikkhu. But before he joined the order, he built a monastery which included a kitchen and a storeroom. He also brought his own furniture, utensils, and a large stock of rice, oil, butter, and other provisions. Whatever dishes he wanted were cooked for him by his servants. Thus, even as a bhikkhu, he was living in comfort. So one day, other bhikkhus reported this to the Buddha. So claiming that how could he still lead a luxurious life as a rich person even after becoming a monk? So the Buddha told Bahubandika, so Bahubandika, the someone who hoards, the meaning is a hoarding person. My son, I have been teaching all of you to live a simple life. Why have you brought so much property with you? When he heard the life, why have you brought so much property with you? When he heard the Buddha speaking that manner, the bhikkhu lost his temper and said angrily, Indeed, Venerable Sir, I will now live as you wish me to. So saying, he cast off his robe and asked, Is this the way you advise me to live? Seeing him thus, the Buddha admonished him, My son, in your last existence you were an evil spirit. Even an evil spirit, you had a sense of shame, hiri, sense of fear, otappa, to do evil. Now that you are a bhikkhu, why do you have to lose your sense of shame and the sense of fear to behave like this? So when the bhikkhu heard those words, he realized his mistake and his sense of shame and fear returned. So he admitted his mistakes and respectfully sought forgiveness from the Buddha. The enlightened one then admonished him, Standing there without your upper robe is not proper. Just discarding your robe, etc. does not make you an austere bhikkhu. A bhikkhu must also discard his ignorance. At the end of the discourse, many bhikkhus reflected mindfully on the admonition given to Bahubandika and attained the first stage of sainthood. So Bahubandika is hoarding many things. Now, we can take this as a guide. It's not the external things, perhaps what you wear or what you adorn yourself with as ornaments, or even the property, the lifestyle that you live, perhaps even the clothes and shoes and bags that you carry, or even the cars and vehicles that you drive. It's not about that. It's about the essence within. That's what strikes me here. No matter what you are on the outer look, as we've been discussing for the last few days, it is the inner mind, perhaps, that you have to purify. The outer might just develop in one when they start to flaunt, when they start to boast. It's more or less about looking up and spitting at yourself, or looking up and spitting and the spit falls into your own face. It's about the ego, the personality that develops within becomes really shallow. And everyone can identify when a person is actually acting out quite differently. And you can see how lots of people might even end up with perhaps regret or sadness, because when they are expecting some sort of positive or comments, but when you don't get that, you feel quite different, your behavior changes. when you start interacting with people, you will develop ignorance. You will develop, or you will be asking for some perhaps even negative comments. So it is the inner self that, or inner perhaps the mind, that we have to purify. It's whatever you do outer might not make sense. Whatever you do might not make sense. So therefore, when you refer this to even perhaps whatever you do, the things that you do, where there is no faith, where there is no confidence, even with religious rituals or religious rites, where there is no confidence in the practice, you might not be able to make the most out of it. So it is not there is no tick list, as I always say. There is no tick list in the things that you do. It is the intent, or it is the intention that matters most in even the religious things that you do. So if you look at the Buddha's in the stanza, all these all those people who've left households, wandering naked, having matted locks, covering oneself with filth, fasting unnecessarily, lying on the ground with dust and ashes all over their body. They are not the things that actually can purify a person. They are the other extreme that we just spoke about. They cannot actually purify a person. It is like just because if you can't control your senses, so if you think that you are getting angry by seeing or hearing, that doesn't mean you should go blind or deaf, because those senses exist. So it is the mind that we have to be able to control, to be able to maintain without anything contaminating and germinating. And where there is contamination and germination, it is the ignorance that actually plays the big role. So it is the wise thinking, it is the wise contemplation, the wise and mindful of all the things that enter through your senses or even arises in your mind sense that matters most in this case when we talk about being a pure person. The word pure here is about cannot be done by someone else. That's why the Buddha said, Sachitta Pariyodapana. You have to work for yourself. You are the one that will have to work on this purification. There's no one else that can help you. So to realize your personal nature, to start, you can get support to understand the personal nature. But if there is something that actually generates perhaps or motivates your action, even words, into a negative tone, that is what you have to free yourself from. That is what you have to get rid of. It's not throwing things that the possessions that you have should be made use of as your need, not to actually flaunt yourself. So whatever you have should be used to help you support your practices, because lots of when it comes into the dependent origination, it is the upadana that actually is the problem. It is the clinging on to those things, whether it is the possessions that you have or whether it is the mental thoughts that you develop. It is that clinging that has to be freed from. It is it's not about things not being there for your need, but it is that clinging, that mental clinging that we have. And when we talk about this in terms of purification, clinging to what you like might sound quite what we always think about. We are always attached to what you like, what you prefer, what you are show favoritism to. But actually clinging can happen in the other way around, such as the negative, which is anger, which is the dislikes, which is the things that actually that you experience, whether it is physical, whether it is your sensory experience from things that you see and hear. Are there things that you dislike? And it is that dislike that we sometimes cling on to and are unable to free yourself. So the purification takes place from your contemplation, from your rational thinking, rather than from the external penances, which can be seen as quite erratic in this case, like wandering naked or having matted lock, rubbing yourself with filth, mud, or even ashes, going around in different postures, and even trying to perhaps just practice certain ascetic rigorous practices which causes more harm to you than any sensible thing. So that's why the Buddha said in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, it is the cause for suffering. So those are the dukkha, anariyo, anatta sanghito. So three negative impact that the extreme self-mortification can bring upon you. Dukkha, suffering. It is the suffering, the experience is not actually causing anything good to you, but it's causing physical and sometimes even mental pain and suffering, bringing about that. So when you choose to do these external penances, which might sound quite unrealistic, I'm sure you can relate to many practices. Even as Buddhists, there are lots of people who do certain practices which might sound quite unrealistic, and if someone actually holds on to that or clings on to that, it will definitely become a Silabbata Paramasa as well. So it is that rational thinking, that contemplation that actually purifies. Anatta Sanghita, it becomes a pain, it becomes anariyo. It is not what the Buddha taught, it is not what the Buddha taught us to do. The Buddha taught simple things. Try to see the cause of suffering and then try to find the release of that suffering. And that is what the Buddha said, Udaya Vaya. He teaches only two things, the cause of suffering and the release of suffering, nothing else. And he simply laid us a path to follow, not those other practices that we have created ourselves, those rites and rituals. The Buddha said to follow the Eightfold Path, practically the middle path. And this is what we have been referring to in the last few days about the way you think, the way you talk, or the way you learn the speeches that you actually engage in, whether it is truthful or untruthful, whether it is harsh speech or kind speech, whether it is the malicious speech or even scandalous speech or gentle speech. You have a choice to make. You have a choice to commit to that. And therefore, to make it right, to make it in the right context, what you speak is more important. So therefore, then only with right understanding and with right intention, it does it helps us practice right speech. Similarly, your right action, literally the first precept, the second precept, the third precept, the fifth precept, it is that right action that you engage with. You have a choice. So if you think negatively, if you nurture greed, hatred, and ignorance, and stupidity, jealousy, envy, and so, there is a high chance that you might commit yourself to break the precepts. So you are making a choice when you do something or when you say something to mentally harm or cause harm to someone else. And that is why this chapter started with Attupanayaka Dhammapariyaya strategy, taking yourself as an example, not to do harm to other people, not to cause harm to other people, or even cause someone to harm someone else. And essentially, it is this way of thinking that can help us purify ourselves. It is not the practices that the external penances that the torturings or strategies that might have existed then, and they're all something that could be discarded. And that is why the Buddha said the Silabbata Paramasa can be a barrier to understand the reality, can be a barrier to attain enlightenment, can be a barrier even to practice the Dhamma. So therefore, you have to overcome these doubts. You have to learn the Dhamma and help yourself to understand the true practice. And therefore, it is not what you possess, it is not what you wear, it is not what you adorn yourself with. It is the purity that you develop within oneself through contemplating on the Dhamma, through practicing the Dhamma daily, then that can, and through internalizing the qualities, even such as Arahant, so that you don't cause or do harm even secretly. So these are the things that we have been talking, and therefore I analyze and summarize that for your own reflection. So tomorrow we will discuss the other half of the sutta. Not by external appearance does one become holy, which is quite similar to this, but there is something that we can discuss, and I will share that with you tomorrow. So thank you for being patient and listening to the Dhamma reflection. I hope it has been helpful about considering the type of practices that you do even as a Buddhist. So you have to purify yourself within and engage in yourself into the Dhamma practice, and therefore I suppose meditation is perhaps the only way to help yourself practice the Dhamma. So now we will do Punyanamodana. So may all the merit accumulated, the sponsors, Mr. Chanaka Jayasekara and Mrs. Indika Jayasekara, along with children Yasindu and Kavish, have sponsored the puja today and made this available for you by online. The chanting and Dhamma reflection for your well-being and happiness. So even as a teacher of the Dhamma school as well, may all merit accumulated be conducive for your well-being. May all your righteous aspirations be fulfilled. May your children's education and future be a very successful one. May you all be blessed with good health and happiness. So sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So now we will do Metta Bhavana to conclude the program. So once you have adjusted yourself, closed your eyes, take few moments to be mindful of your posture, the way you have posed yourself at this very moment. Not when you started to sit, but at this very moment, how is your body? Upright, balanced, bent at the hips and knees, and also be mindful of the points of contact on which you are sitting or the floor. Be mindful of anyone who may be sitting with you, appreciating your support that you are getting, being thankful. Be mindful of anyone who may not be sitting with you but present at home. Do take a note that there are many family members participating with you online and coming to yourself. Be mindful of that calm and peace in your body. Very contrasting nature. Imagine when you're busy or frustrated or angry or panicking or worrying, how was your body? Now it is completely different. Similarly, there is this peace of mind, absence of restlessness, simply because you have committed to this, so there is no rush to finish. If you are in a rush to finish, you will start being anxious, fidgety. So once you have given up everything for this time, just take that moment to observe that peace in your mind. Nothing to worry about, nothing to think about. You need that calm senses to do metta bhavana. Santindriya. You're not expecting anything through your senses at this moment. So therefore they are calm. If you were expecting something, your mind would not be the way it is now. Peaceful. You can call it stillness. So your mind is still. You're not even engaging with the thoughts that arise. You are developing this giving up skills. Let it go. Anything that comes to your mind, let it go. Emotions, thoughts that arise, we don't get involved at this moment. Not even the person that you are thinking or bearing in your mind when you do metta or share metta with. So metta is this complete, genuine, benevolent attitude, just the well-wishing thought. And it's not self-centered, it's completely free, it's not contractual, but you start developing and the skills of metta through connecting with the people that you associate with most. And that helps us to develop metta in such a way that it becomes indiscriminative. It goes beyond gender, sexuality, nationality, or any form of identity. Metta is universal. The well-being thinking is not limited, it becomes unlimited. But we need to start from where we are comfortable with. So therefore, it's not a contractual thing, but a complete, genuine wish for you, for someone that you associate with or care for. And you don't do partial, you don't do metta 50%, or you don't demand anything in return, but complete happiness for them, nothing more. You can skip the stations if they don't relate to you, but continue to maintain the well-wishing thought, the benevolent thought, and don't let anything impact upon it, even the knowledge of the person. You know the person is completely different now. Your memories or incidents should not shadow your thinking. Instead, we can just develop forgiveness at this stage. Nothing matters now, not even the memory of the person. The incidents should not change your way of thinking at this stage. Metta is that genuine loving kindness. Instead of impatience, we develop patience. Instead of jealousy and envy, we develop joy. Instead of dissatisfaction, we develop happiness and well-being thinking. So complete happiness for everyone. So you can follow these lines in your mind. May I be well, happy and peaceful. May I be blessed with good health. May no harm come to me. May no problems come to me. May no difficulties come to me. May I always meet with success. May I also have the patience, courage, and understanding to meet and overcome difficulties in life. May I be free from pain and suffering. Skip the stations now. Don't recall those who may have passed away as well. May my parents, grandparents, teachers, uncles and aunts and in-laws, husband, wife or partner, children, sons-in-law, daughters-in-law, grandchildren, brothers and sisters, brothers-in-law and sisters-in-law, cousins, nephews and nieces, friends and colleagues at work, everybody in this online community and their family members, everybody in the neighborhood. May they all be well, happy and peaceful. May they all be blessed with good health. May no harm come to them. May no problems come to them. May no difficulties come to them. May they always meet with success. May they also have the patience, courage, and determination to meet and overcome difficulties in life. May they be free from pain and suffering. May all living beings, including your pets, birds, animals, and insects that come to your garden, seen and unseen beings, including all sentient beings, be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to them. May no problems come to them. May no difficulties come to them. May they always meet with success. May they also have the patience, courage, and determination to meet and overcome difficulties in life. May they be free from pain and suffering. May I be well, happy, and peaceful. May I be free from pain and suffering. With that brief Metta Bhavana, we come to the close of our today's online broadcast. Thank you for joining with us this evening. Do join us again tomorrow at 7 o'clock when you go live with our reinstated program here at the London Mindfulness Meditation Center. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Stay safe. Take care. Have a very good evening and good night. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.